I'm saying? Yeah. The fanatic. Where we keep it 100, keep it real. That's the only way we know how to be. Talking that sports talk. You know what I'm saying? Straight out of South Carolina. Upstate, A64. Yeah. The FANATTIC. The fanatic where we keep it OG. We talking sports, so I call what
Welcome into the Fan Addict, a sports channel for sports fans by sports fans. It's your boy, Coach I.
You know I'm the stat guy.
All right, man, we're here for another win total video. This time it's the SEC West. And a disclaimer before we get started, this is for entertainment purposes only. So if you go bet the house on what we say and you lose that house, we don't have any room for you. What's going on, stat guy?
Hey, not much, man. You know, this is the holy grail, right? When you talk about college football, bro, the SEC West.
That's what they say, man. But I don't know, man. I think we get to the point where some of these are just name only holy grails. I mean, Auburn and LSU wasn't too good last year, so we'll see. You know what I'm saying? We'll see. I think overall they definitely have a claim to it. I think the Big Ten East has a claim to that as well. So what we doing here today, though, is another win totals video. Basically, we'll talk about what Vegas Insider has them as for the season win totals, and then we'll go through the schedule. This isn't like a breakdown, but just go through each schedule in the SEC West and see if we match what Vegas says on the win totals. You ready to jump into this thing?
Yeah, man, let's hop on in.
All right, man. First team up the bet. LSU Tigers. In 2021, they went 6-6. And if I'm not mistaken, they either tied for last in the SEC West or finished last in the SEC West. Listen, Brian Kelly definitely has an uphill battle. I think he's a good X's and O's coach, aside from the off-field, dancing behind the recruits and stuff. But I think LSU does a better job recruiting itself because the state of Louisiana has a lot of talent. So if he just can, keep some of that talent home, I think he can turn it around. I don't know what it's going to be this year. I don't think it's going to be no 10-win season, but we'll see what does Vegas say, that guy?
Vegas believes in Brian Kelly because they say this 6-6 team that lost some pieces, right? Lost some pieces in the transfer portal. They did get some stuff in, but I do believe they were one of the losers on the end of the transfer portal as far as what they lost versus what they brought in. 7.5.
All right, let's go ahead and start in and see if we match what Vegas has at 7.5. First game up for LSU will be played in New Orleans at the Superdome versus Florida State the Sunday before Labor Day. I got this as a half just because I don't know what really to expect from Florida State. I know last year when they played Notre Dame first game on Labor Day weekend, they gave Notre Dame all they wanted, man, and had a good showing. They just kind of ran out of gas because they're not very deep, and Norvell is still trying to do that. And then this is Brian Kelly's first year at LSU, so we'll see how much they get acclimated to his system. So I'm going to give him a half right here.
Man, I've been back and forth on this one. I'm torn because, let's be real, this is a home game. But I'm in the same boat. I'm a big buyer in Florida State taking a step forward this year. We don't really know what to expect out of LSU, but this is a proven game for both teams. Get your season start off on the right foot. So I'm going to go with the coin flip, give them the half.
All right, and then the next game is versus Southern. That's a win.
Win 1.5. And
let me explain to those that don't really do a lot of betting and things of that nature. The win totals always, and most people know this. If they say it's 7, because you said they had them at 7.5, you get a point for a win, a half if you don't know who's going to win, and of course no points if it is a loss. So right now I got them at 1.5, and we're going into the third game versus Mississippi State. I got that as a half because again, Mississippi State returns a lot. They return one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC, and it's Mike Leach. I think they'll be able to put up a lot of points. It's just, can LSU match those points? Because don't they have Zach Calzada, the transfer from Texas A&M?
They do. It's funny. They flip-flop quarterbacks.
Exactly.
I actually have this as a loss. Really like Mississippi State. Again, this is another game for LSU early in the year. Big proven game. Are you going to be 6-6, or are you going to turn the corner and get to those 7 or 8 wins? But I'm giving them a loss here, and I'm staying at 1.5.
All right, next game is New Mexico. I got them. That's a win. So that's one.
That's a 1 for me, 2.5 total.
All right, I'm at 3 total so far. At Auburn, this one, this can be tricky. Like I said, I don't know what to expect out of Auburn. You know, around the end of the season, bowl season, end of the year last year, Brian Harsin was kind of going through what Billy Napier's going through at Florida, where the fans just have a lot of unrest. But it's at Auburn, and as you know, a lot of SEC fans know it's hard to win on the road. So I'm gonna give them a half right here.
And see, I'm going to flip the script. They're bouncing back from Mississippi State. I think there's no way they lose this game and they get the dub.
All right, versus Tennessee at home. I think they have a slight edge because they're playing at home, but I think Tennessee is in their second year under Hypo. LSU's in their first year. I think this right here is going to show. I got them at a half because I think Tennessee definitely has the talent and the scheme to go into LSU. Now, if it's a night game, Tennessee might want to hang it up, but I think Tennessee, I'm going to give them a half here.
Yeah, I got them in a half as well because there's no way this game is played earlier than 3:30, and you allow the Raging Cajuns to get to partying, bro. That Death Valley is going to be rocking.
Yep.
That's going to be a raucous environment, one of the best places in college football.
So on to their permanent crossover game as of now, anyway, before Texas and OU entered the conference at Florida, and this game actually goes back and forth. The state of the Florida program right now, just because you see what is going on in social media and things of that nature. I still think Florida has some talent. It's at the Swamp. Florida's always good at home, so I'm gonna give LSU a half right here. It's gonna be Brian Kelly's first trip to the Swamp.
I got him at a half as well. This another kind of battle game as far as teams that are trying to return to the glory days.
All right, next game is at home versus Ole Miss. I know Ole Miss is breaking in a new quarterback, but I don't really think that matters a lot when you're talking about Lane Kiffin, not to mention it's Jackson Dart from USC. I got Ole Miss with a win right here, so that's an L for me.
This is a half for me, and the reason why, and it really kind of depends on how the season's playing now. You know, if they lose some of their coin flips earlier, or lose a game that maybe they should have won, they're riding the struggle bus. Man, this could be noon high SEC network. They're winning the games they're supposed to, win some of the coin flips. Man, this could be 2 one-loss teams mess around, be 8 o'clock down on the bayou. So I'm actually going to give them the half.
All right, I got it's Alabama to follow that up. They do have a bye before Alabama, so they got a bye the weekend of Halloween, and then they play Alabama the first Saturday in November. All of that said, this year I don't think that's going to matter much because Alabama brings too much back. Nick Saban, even though he wasn't rated the best transfer portal, the keys that he brought in from the transfer portal, from Jermaine Burton to Jahmyr Gibbs to Elias Ricks, they're just deep everywhere, and I don't think LSU is going to be able to block Dallas Turner and Will Anderson. So this is just an L for me.
And I think you can go ahead and write down the L in red, and you might want to circle it a couple times with the black Sharpie.
All right, now the next weekend they're at Arkansas, one of their biggest SEC rivals. I think Arkansas is much improved. I think Pittman's got them in the right direction. I actually got them at a loss right here because I think Arkansas did really well in the transfer portal. I think they're going to be ready for LSU.
Is this game in Fayetteville?
Yep.
I'm going to give them the coin flip. I'm going to give them a half.
All right. Then they got the, standardized cupcake before your last game. They got UAB. Sorry, UAB. Not that you're a cupcake overall, but to LSU. Who knows what they might do. But I got them as a straight up win right here. So that's a 1 for me.
That's a win for me as well.
And then they got to go to Texas A&M at the end of the season. I want to say that this is going to be a loss, but I don't know. Because I don't know what to expect from either quarterback. Like you said earlier in the video, they flip-flop quarterbacks. So I'm going to give them a half right here at Texas A&M.
I'm going to give them a half as well. And I think this game could have some big-time implications on the college football landscape.
Okay. Why do you think that?
I mean, hey, no, I mean, we'll save that opinion for when we get to Texas A&M. But I'm just gonna say I think this could have some major implications on the college football landscape.
All right. So Vegas had them at 7.5. I got them at half, 1.5, 2, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5. I gotta have more than that. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3. I got them at 6 wins.
And I got them at 7.5.
All right. So you right there with Vegas. If I was a betting man, if I decide to bet, this might be one of the teams I might look at, man. I might have to look at that, putting that money on that under over there. So
and not only that, I have them at 7.5, but I have them on 7.5, and it's not like I got them at 7 true wins and a coin flip, and then maybe a loss that could be a coin flip. I got them at 7.5 with about 4 or 5 coin flips, and you start looking at that. That's a rough way to get to 7.5 wins when you hoping to hit the coin a couple times in a row.
All right, on to Auburn. Auburn finished at 6-6 last year. Like I say, tied for last in the SEC West. But I do think they, if I remember correctly, they beat LSU and had that tiebreaker. So what does Vegas have them for?
Vegas is predicting Auburn to finish last in the SEC West. 5.5. 5.5.
5.5. Brian Harsin. Listen, the fans, like I said, at the end of the year, they was all over him, man. So he's got a lot to prove. Let's go ahead and jump right into this thing and move it on along. Mercer, 1.
Right.
All right. San Jose State, 2.
2.
Versus Penn State at home. Now they have the advantage of Penn State coming to their house. I'm going to give them a half for this one. A little bit of revenge. So 2.5.
I think they're taking the straight L at home. Leave them at 2.
All right. They got Missouri at home. I'm going to give them a win versus Missouri because they're at home. 3.5.
I gave Missouri a half on this game on the other side. So got to leave it that way. So I got them at 2.5.
Just like I did for the LSU schedule. This is LSU. It's at home. I'm going to give them a half because they do go back and forth.
And I have them losing this game, so they're still at 2.5.
At the Dogs in Athens, they haven't. Hey, look, man, Mark Richt turned this series around, and they haven't fared well against the Dog in like the last 15 to 17 contests. So I got them with a straight up L versus the Dog.
Yeah, that thing might get ugly quick.
So following that up, they got to go to Ole Miss. I got this as a loss. Again, I just feel like Lane Kiffin has that Ole Miss train rolling. And unless Jackson Dart gets hurt by this time of the season, I think you'll have him going too. So I got that as a loss. So I am still at 4.
I got them losing this game.
All right. And then they got to play Arkansas at home. Again, I think Sam Pittman got it going. I got this as an L versus Arkansas.
See, this is a battle of me between two teams that I'm not very high on. I'm gonna give them the coin flip.
All right, and then they got to go to Mississippi State. I got this as a loss to Mike Leach. I think Mike Leach will have that thing rolling. I don't know if Auburn will be able to score with them, so I got that as a loss as well.
Yeah, that's a loss for me.
Then they got Texas A&M at home. I think Texas A&M top to bottom just got too much talent for Auburn right now. They'll try to feed Tank, but Texas A&M will be ready. So I got this as a loss as well. So I'm still at 4.
I'm a loss, and I'm at 3.5.
All right, and then Western Kentucky, that's a straight up win. So I'm at 5.
And 4.5.
And unlike last year, even though Auburn was vastly lower in talent than Alabama, they always find a way at Jordan Hare to make it a game. But they're in Tuscaloosa this year, so that's an L. So I got them finishing at 5 wins.
What you're saying is Tank Bigsby running out of bounds late in the fourth quarter won't matter this year.
Hey, look at here. They shouldn't have been in that predicament in the first place. One player don't lose a game. So Vegas had them at 5.5. I had them at 5.
I have them at 4.5.
All right. Either way, I think they're finishing last in the SEC. West. On to the next team. The next team is Mississippi State and Mike Leach. Those Bulldogs, man. Last year they finished 7-5, man, and we saw that they could score on some people. They actually beat Texas A&M last year. So we'll see what they do this year. What does Vegas have them going this year, Jeff?
Vegas has them at 6.5.
All right. So I got Memphis. It's a win.
Win.
At Arizona, that's a win.
Win.
At LSU, I think I'm trying to remember what did I say for the LSU. Let me see. I think it was just a half. So because it's at LSU, that's why I'm giving them a half.
I gave Mississippi State the win there.
Versus Bowling Green, that's a win.
Win.
Versus Texas A&M, they beat them last year and they got them at home this year. I think that's a half because they could do it again.
This is very, very well could be that type of game. Hey man, talk Vegas, baby. Never know what'll happen when they get them cowbells ringing. But I'm definitely gonna give them a half for that.
All right, versus Arkansas at home. I think their offense can score on Arkansas, but can they stop Arkansas, or will Arkansas be too physical for them? I think they actually, if I'm not mistaken, they beat Arkansas last year, but I'm gonna give them a half here as well.
I got them at a half.
All right, they got to go to Kentucky. It's at Kentucky, but Mike Leach will be able to score. We'll see if Kentucky's physicalness will be too much, but that's just a half for me.
Yeah, I got them at a half right there.
Then they got to go to Alabama. While I think, they're going to be improved or whatever, I just don't think they'll have enough horses to win in Titletown. This is a loss.
Yeah, no, that's a tough one. Loss.
All right, versus Auburn. If I'm not mistaken, I gave Auburn the loss here. It's at home. Mike Leach will have too much offense for him, so I got Mike Leach with the win here.
Yeah, Mike Leach, dub.
All right. Versus Georgia, I did give them a half because they're playing at home, and this is a game Georgia is coming off of the Tennessee game right after, even though it'll give Georgia some experience with pass-happy offenses. Like you said in the SEC East video, it's a different style of pass-happy. They don't try to go breakneck pace all the time. They just go 5 wide and spread you out, but I do have it a half right here, even though Georgia is the more talented team.
I got Georgia just with a pure win here, so that's a loss to Mississippi State.
All right, versus East Tennessee State, that's a win.
And
at Ole Miss, I got it as a half, man. I think this could get this could be both teams could be in the 40s here. It just depends on what these defenses doing. So I got it at a half.
And for those of you that don't know, the Egg Bowl is now probably the best Twitter rivalry between coaches of a game leading up to the game. Both Mike Kiffin and Mike Leach, great followers on Twitter. You never know what they're going to say or do. I got this as a half.
All right, so Vegas had them at 6.5, and I got them at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, 7. Hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I got them at 8.
And I got them at 8.5.
Well, it's another one we might have to take a look at in Vegas for entertainment purposes only. Don't go bet in the house based on what we say, all right? We're just here for entertainment. All right, Texas A&M is the next team on the list. Texas A&M, listen, they got the #1 recruiting class in 2022. Jimbo's got to come up with something, man. They paid him a lot of money. We ain't even talking about NIL. We just talking about the coach's salary. And they finished 4th last year in the SEC West. That's not. I know they beat Alabama, but that's not going to cut it for the type of money that they pay. What is Vegas saying they're going to do this year?
Hey man, so Mr. 8-4 himself, Vegas staying true. They're giving him 8.5.
8.5. Listen, man. If Vegas is on point with these numbers, man, Jimbo might have to have some questions to answer at the end of the season. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. Sam Houston State, that's a win.
W.
App State, that's a win.
Half. I know it's at the 12th man, but man, I know App State's a little bit different now that they're in the Sun Belt. But man, App State's just one of those teams that if I'm a Power 5 program, why in the world I would rather play North Carolina than play App State. I'd rather play Duke than play App State. Like, there's just other teams in bigger conferences that I would schedule before I pay App State money to come in and possibly embarrass me on my home field.
All right. Miami coming in. It's I like Crystal Ball higher, but and Tyler Van Dyke did pretty good last year. I just think Texas A&M will have too much for them, and I'm giving them the outright win here.
See, giving them the half in the game before, giving them a half here. I mean, depending on how that goes, man, shit, things could get ugly quick in Aggie land. I got them at enough.
All right. Now in 2021, Sam Pittman did get the win versus Texas A&M at Texas A&M. Or actually, it was actually in Dallas, in Jerry World. Let me make that correction. But this time it will be in Fayetteville. I'm gonna give them a half here.
I have it as a half as well.
All right. Then they got to travel to Mississippi State, who they actually lost to at home. And I think, like I said, when we did in Mississippi State, I think Mike Leach has the horses to run with them. So I'm giving them a half here as well.
Got him at a half.
All right. Then they got to go to Alabama. Now, as we all know, this is going to be the most talked about game that week, if not the whole season leading up to that, because of all the stuff that happened in this offseason between Jimbo, Nick calling Jimbo out, Jimbo saying, and one of the before that saying, I ain't a hard man to find, basically saying, come find me if you want me, you know what I'm saying, get this smoke. So I think but he's going to Titletown, and Nick Saban is not going to lose to him 2 times in a row. I got this as an outright loss.
That thing might get ugly. That could be a game we don't see the Dogs called off in the early of the fourth quarter, where Nick Saban goes run happy and just runs the ball 30 times in the second half. And big letter L's, you just hang up in the locker room and just wear it around.
All right, versus South Carolina, who they're 8-0 against since they entered the SEC. I got it as a win.
Yeah, you forget about the 12-2 coming off of bye weeks for my Gamecocks. That is a loss.
All right, versus Ole Miss at home. I think Ole Miss is going to finish top 2 or 3 in the second or third in the West, and I got this as a half, even though it's at home.
I got it as a half as well.
Versus Florida at home, I got this as a win.
I had this as a win.
At Auburn, I got that as a win.
I did as well.
Versus UMass, I got that as a win.
Yeah, that's a W for him.
And versus LSU, I think like when we did the LSU one, I think I gave this as a loss for LSU. I just think this year, well, no, I got this a half because I forgot, they switched quarterbacks. I think it's going to be a little animosity somewhere here, and it's at home, so I give them a slight edge, but I'm going to give them a half here.
So I have this as a half, and as a game that I said could potentially shake up the college landscape picture. If Texas A&M season plays out the way I just projected it to, someone is going to be on the hot seat. I'm telling you right now, you can't bring in the number 1 class. The boosters can't spend the kind of money they're spending to bring the players in. Look, it's illegal. It's legal. I'm not mad at them. You know what I'm saying? You got the old money, good for you. Put it to some use. Get some of these kids paid. They cannot have the type of season I'm thinking they're going to have, and him not be on the hot seat going into 2023.
Vegas is 8.5. I got him at 9. What do you have him at?
You got him at 9. I have him going 7-5.
All right, let's move on. Let's roll on. We got 3 more teams to do. Let's roll on through this thing. All right, the Arkansas Razorbacks finished 8-4 last year. Sam Pittman has shown vast improvements, but they come out the gates this year with Cincinnati at home, even though Cincinnati is retooling a little bit here. What does Vegas have Arkansas at this year?
This was actually one of my shockers where I think Vegas might be way off. Vegas has Arkansas at 6.5.
6.5. All right, let's roll through it to see if we agree. Versus Cincinnati, I got this as a win. I think Cincinnati is a good program, but I think they lost a little bit too much to roll into Fayetteville, and they're going to take an L.
I got this as a coin flip. Coming off a playoff year, you can't go back to the playoffs without winning week 1. Coin flip.
All right, I think Cincinnati loses here and then possibly rolls off the rest of them, missing the playoffs, but making it to a New Year's Six bowl. Second week versus South Carolina at home. I think this is an interesting matchup. You got Shane Beamer in his second year. You got Pittman in his third. I think both teams have done some positive things, but I think Arkansas. I got it as a half because I think Arkansas may get the edge because they're at home, but I got it as a half.
And you know, me being Mr. Homer, lost.
All right. Then Missouri State, that's a win.
And
versus Texas A&M, I'm giving them a half because, of course, like I said, they did it last year, but that doesn't mean they can do it again this year. But it is at home. I give them a half for this one.
I got them at half.
Versus Alabama, I don't think they have enough gas in the tank to take on the Tide, even though they're playing at home. So I got this as a loss.
False.
At Mississippi State is going to be a tough one on the road, but I'll give them a half.
I gave them a half.
This right here is where the trickiness comes into. This is at BYU. It's not a lot of people like to go to Provo and come out with a win, man. So I'm giving them a half, man, because BYU always plays tough at home.
I'm actually giving them a win in this game because as brutal as Arkansas' schedule is up until that point, BYU's might be worse.
All right, then they got to go to Auburn. I think I gave them a half in the Auburn schedule here. I gave them. Okay, I'm going to give them a half again. Versus Liberty, that's a win.
Win.
Versus LSU, like I say, this is their SEC rival, so this is a half because they do kind of, I think they're the better team, but that doesn't mean they're going to win because it is LSU. You get a half? Okay. Versus Ole Miss. Question is, KJ Jefferson will be, one of the better quarterbacks, at least highly, touted to start the year. He did add some pieces on offense, but can they keep up? I'm going to give them a half. They are playing Ole Miss in Fayetteville.
I am going to give them a half in that game, but I tell you, honestly, the key to that game, this game is later in the season. Can Arkansas keep KJ upright long enough heading into that game? I mean, he is kind of carefree and makes stuff happen, but man, he takes a lot of unnecessary hits.
All right, so next, the last game is at Missouri. I got them with an outright win at Missouri.
I got them with a win as well.
All right, so Vegas had them at 6.5, and I got them at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.5.
So I also have them at 7.5, but that's with me being a homer and giving them the loss to South Carolina and giving them the half against Cincinnati, so they could very easily go 9-3.
I could definitely see 9-3 as the ceiling, but like you said, when you have those toss-up games, could easily be 7-5. So on to the last two teams that we have. That's Mississippi and Alabama. First up, Mississippi. They finished second in the SEC West last year, finishing 10-2. They are replacing some pieces here. Zach Evans, I think, is an upgraded running back, but Matt Corral is off to the NFL and enter Jackson Dart. All right, what does Vegas have them at?
Vegas surprisingly has Ole Miss at 7.5.
That must be the unknown at quarterback, but we'll see. All right, let's jump into this, man. First game they got is versus Troy. I said at Troy. Versus Troy, that's a win.
Win.
All right, versus Central Arkansas, it's a win. At Georgia Tech, that's a win.
That's a dub.
Versus Tulsa, out of the gates, 4 cupcakes. I got them as 4-0 here. All right, now here we go. We got versus Kentucky. I think this is a half. I think Kentucky does have the stuff that they need to beat them, but it is at Ole Miss, so we'll see how that plays out. I got them at a half.
I got a half for this game, and obviously the 4 cupcakes will be nice, build the confidence heading into SEC play.
Then they go to Vanderbilt, which doesn't really have a home field advantage, so I'm giving them a win here.
W.
Versus Auburn, I got them as an outright win here.
That's a win.
At LSU, I'm going to say this is a half, like I said, because it's at LSU, and LSU's just an unknown. If Zach Calzada kind of does, stays consistent and somebody can come, they do have the wide receiver. I think Butte is his name, and LSU always has talent. So I got a half.
Got a half for that game as well.
All right. And then they got to go to Texas A&M. I think they got enough juice to beat Texas A&M, but it is in front of the 12th man, so I'm going to give them a half here.
I got a half for that.
Versus Alabama. I know Ole Miss fans want to beat Alabama, so I just don't think this is the year to do it. It is at home. Ole Miss has done it before, but I don't think that'll be this year. This is a loss for me.
I mean, eventually Lane Kiffin has got to join Jimbo and Kirby, right? Well, I mean, one of these days, eventually he's got to join the club. I don't think it's this year. That's a loss.
Then they go to Arkansas, and I'm going to give them a half. I think Sam Pittman will have the boys ready, but Lane Kiffin will be coming with Lane Kiffin-style offense, which is high-powered.
Got him at a half at that, but again, a very winnable game.
And then the Egg Bowl. The Egg Bowl, like I said, when we was doing Mississippi State, both teams could be in the 40s. Just depends on the defense. I'm going to give them a half here as well.
I got it as a half, but again, another very, very winnable game.
So Vegas had them at 7.5. I got them at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.5. I got them at 8.5. Vegas has them at 7.5.
I also have them at 8.5, but would not surprise me one bit if they go 10-2.
Yeah, for real, exactly. If I'm telling you, if the quarterback pans out, then I look to be another 10-2 or 9-3 season.
And I think Vegas is spot on with the 7.5 because I think their floor is 7-5. I mean, the 4 cupcakes to kick it off, the cupcake with Vandy. I mean, they got 5 gimmies.
Yeah,
you got 2 wins somewhere along the way. So I think 7-5 is their floor, but definitely a 10-2 type ceiling.
Definitely. And on to the SEC West champions, the SEC champions, and the national title runner-up. Go Dogs. The Alabama Crimson Tide. Alabama has retooled. They reloaded. They loaded on defense. I think this will be the first time that you see Alabama-style defense since the year that Kirby left, actually, since 2015. They got Dallas Turner on one edge. They got Will Anderson on the other edge. It's like, who you going to run from? Then they got added pieces in that defensive backfield. On offensive side, they got the returning Heisman Trophy winner in Bryce Young. They got Jahmyr Gibbs transfer from Georgia Tech. They got Jermaine Burton at wide receiver. It's like every year when they don't have a wide receiver, they get one out of the transfer portal. So I think this team is going to be fully loaded, and barring any injuries, is full steam ahead. What does Vegas have them at after finishing 11-1 last year in the regular season, Jeff?
So after going 11-1 last year in the regular season, Vegas is kind of put money on the same. I think Vegas is a little soft with their prediction of 11.5 wins. I'm just going to go ahead and preface this by saying, don't even wait for my answer. Bama's going 12-0 this year.
All right, and I won't belabor the point as you like you said. I think it's very conceivable that Alabama goes 12-0. If there was a game to question, I think it would be the Ole Miss game.
We ran through everybody else's schedules. Gave Bama wins against all of them.
Yep.
But if I had to circle a game that this could be the game this year for Bama, Ole Miss could be their bugaboo this year. But then again, Alabama might beat anybody by 40. Who knows?
It could be. And like I say, if the Auburn game was at Jordan-Hare, I would give them a half there. But because regardless of who's the best, Auburn always finds a way to make it a game or win that game in Jordan-Hare. But this year it is in Titletown. So very conceivable that Alabama goes 12-0 this year, back in the SEC championship to face the Dogs again. Don't forget to get in the comments. Let us know if you agree, disagree on the win totals. Again, this is for entertainment purposes only. Do not go bet the house because I do not have room at my house for you. For Jeff the Stat Guy, this is Coach High, Fanatic. Go Dogs.
We got it jumping like it's that valley. I call my dogs out the pound, let's go eat. Turn on the Fanatic, let's have a debate. Who really hold down the Southeast from state to state? What team hungry gonna eat everything up off they plate?